I'm very concerned, and we've seen back in 2006, the last time the coup has happened, the 12th time. This time is the 13th time, which is quite normal for Thai people nowadays. It's very worrying that Thai people are growing accustomed to these types of interventions. We are growing accustomed to the political culture where the rules doesn't really matter, where the force is all above all else, and that's the most worrisome the most worrying aspect about the coup tonight.
And in terms of what was broadcast by the chief of the military, saying it was really to give those chance of talks and progress to try to move things forward, do you buy any of that?
Well, first I had some hope in it. I was trying to be optimistic about it, but it's plain and simple that it was a stage set up to tell the Thai people that, well, perhaps this is the fault of those protest leaders and politicians who can't come to an agreement. Well, the fact is pretty straightforward. You can't expect all sides who have been arguing fiercely for the past 6 months to come to an agreement within a period of 48 hours. So there is a bad intention there. There is a bad faith there on part of the military. And I would hope that the Thai people would learn from the mistakes the military made back in 2006. We've seen violence a few years after the coup. We've seen rampant allegations of corruption. So basically all the promises, all the excuses, all the pretexts made by the coup instigators back in 2006 came back to haunt us because the coup itself is not the solution. And I'm afraid what happens tonight and what happens in the next few years will be the history repeating itself.
I'll come to some of those issues in a moment, but don't you feel at all wary of talking out in just the way you just have, given that already foreign broadcasters have been closed down, there has been a clampdown, there is a curfew? Are you not nervous yourself about speaking out?
Well, I'm certainly very nervous, and there have been violent threats against me and my family. But what other choice do we have? This is a generational problem. This is not just about a political fight between some groups of politicians. This is about people like me, people of my own age, growing up in Thailand, starting to be very accustomed to this political culture, to this culture of where force is above the rules. And I think the only way for us to get out of this vicious circle is to try to stay conscious, politically conscious that this is wrong. This is something that is absolutely unacceptable.
Well, I'll ask you how
hope that this time, with the social media...
Sorry to cut across you. I'll ask you about exactly how you do that in a moment, but just give me a sense, because you're there in Bangkok only hours after this coup was actually implemented. Give me a sense of how tense it is there in Bangkok, what it is like for ordinary people.
Well, the most direct and straightforward impact was the declaration of the curfew after 10 p.m. So basically about an hour, less than an hour from now. So people all leave the offices. They want to head home. They run to their cars. They run to the mass transit systems. So it's fully packed. I spent 2 hours on the road, where it usually takes 45 minutes. They're closing down the convenience stores where water, milk, and food are being sold tonight. They're closing down, they're shutting down the gas stations. They're also declaring that tomorrow schools and universities are not to be opened. Besides, of course, suspending the constitution. So basically people, although not in a very harsh panic, because we've seen this before, but it's disrupting the people's lives. And what we are expecting to see in the next few hours are a series of declarations, whether they're going to name a new interim leadership. That usually comes a bit later, but they would, of course, try to control the situation. We are expecting that they're trying to get hold of the remaining members of the cabinet members who have been seized the power. And there have been rumors that the meeting will be set tomorrow.
And military control always goes on for much longer than they say right at the beginning. You mentioned about how you hope people might resist this. Tell me more about how you think people can do that and what you would hope for in terms of response from the international community.
The key difference between this time and the last time back in 2006 at least is the growth of social media, the growth of Facebook, Twitters. Of course, majority of Thai people might not have direct access to high-speed connection or smartphones, but a lot of us are, and the key leaders in various areas around Thailand are capable and can have access to those medias. Right now, television stations in Thailand can't broadcast, but some still continue to broadcast online. People were discussing about ways to peacefully show strength against these types of coups. Perhaps they don't have the power to go out against the tanks, but perhaps they have some will, some peaceful will to show in symbolic terms that they don't accept these types of military intervention. Another thing that has to be mentioned is the international community. We have to make sure that the same mistakes back in 2006 will not be repeated by the international community. We have to see very strong, very sudden messages from our friends from around the world. And of course, this is a tricky situation because the tanks and the guns are taking control of Bangkok. But at least I hope that with direct access, direct communication between people like me, people in the streets, people sitting in their living room watching these panning out on social media, at least some strong joint united messages of peaceful disagreement with this coup can be carried out.
Well, very bad, Perry Wong. Thank you very much for taking time to speak to us. Thank you.